The chair will now recognize members for 5 minutes each for questions. We will begin with the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Lamborn. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for having this hearing. Thank you for talking about the positive solutions the Republican conference has put forward, like H.R. 2, addressing this serious problem. Gateway National Recreation Area was created by Congress in 1972 with, quote, the dream of bringing a national park experience to the New York metropolitan area. Think about that, bringing a national park experience to the New York metropolitan area. But what we have under the Biden administration is exactly the opposite. It's bringing a New York metropolitan experience to the national parks. And I shouldn't be surprised about the hypocrisy of the Biden administration. The purpose of the Bureau of Land Management, for instance, is to maintain working land, but a few weeks ago we found out that the Biden administration wants to lock up working land under conservation easements. The purpose of a resource management plan is to manage public resources, but the BLM in Colorado, my state, has proposed a withdrawal of 1.6 million acres of land that was adequately planned and prepared under a resource management plan. So now to the topic at hand, the National Park Service in New York City wants to house thousands of migrants on park land. Ms. Ariel, I have a question for you. Does the general management plan for Gateway National Recreation Area include provisions for migrant housing?
At a recent hearing last Thursday discussing the migrant crisis and different HERCs and shelters, I directly asked the administration if there was a plan in place if the national park at Floyd Bennett Field should become a migrant base camp. The first answer was, it's evolving.
So no, they don't have an existing,
Correct.
yeah.
When I pushed further, the answer was no.
Thank you. And so where did they get the authority to house migrants on Park Service land, not to mention the arbitrary waiving of environmental regulations?
Without a proper plan in place, this would never work. It's an ill-conceived plan, and there are no measures that are being taken place. This is an area that does not have any sewer system, so therefore anything that's brought in, sewer and provisions have to be brought in. And it doesn't have any type of water source. Okay. So you'd have to bring water in, but you can't have propane tanks.
Thank you.
So it would be cold water.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on to my next question. Section 8623 of the 2018 Farm Bill allows the Forest Service to lease federal land for administrative functions. We're wondering in Colorado if that includes temporary housing for agency employees. So Ms. Acer, I have a question for you. Do you believe that administrative site leasing or employee housing should be construed to be open to housing migrants?
Thank you very much, Congressmember. I'm actually not an expert on parks or the law that governs them, and I'm here today to talk about solutions relating to protecting people seeking asylum in the United States. So I do not have that expertise, but...
So you can't speak as to whether this could become a template for other parks all over the United States and the other 49 states?
No, I really would like to stick to the areas that I know best because I'm testifying in front of Congress and really do want to be completely accurate. Thank you, sir.
Okay, well, thank you. But that is a big concern to us. I was hoping you might be able to shed some light on that. My next question, in October 2021, Eric Adams, mayor of New York City, stated, quote, "We should protect our immigrants, period. Yes, New York City will remain a sanctuary city under an Adams administration," end quote. However, you see the quote behind me here. He said, "This issue will destroy New York City." So a lot can change in 2 years. Mrs. Williams, I have a question for you. What do you think changed the mayor's mind over the last 2 years?
As we come before you, it's about Floyd Bennett Field, our national park. The mayor, he would have to answer that question. He said what he said. But on this day, we are here to talk about the misuse or the intent to house 2,000+ single men at Floyd Bennett Field, our national park.
And my concern is that New York City, a wealthy part of our country, if it's having trouble with this housing crisis, what about all the other communities around the country in our border states or other states? How are they going to be able to cope?
Absolutely. I don't have the answer for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentlemen, as time's expired,